Good morning, I'm Sia. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome. To start with today, I wanted to ask you a question. Are you someone who clings to people, places, or things so tightly that the thought of losing them makes you sick or uneasy? If so, this video is for you. Today, I'm going to break down detachment, not the cold, heartless type, but the kind that gives you your life and sanity back. So let's start. So let's talk about detachment. Before I learned how to do it, other people's emotions dictated my life. When they liked me, my mood soared. If they were angry with me, it sank. And if they didn't contact me when they said they would, my mood could plunge in an instant. My peace wasn't mine. It was borrowed, it was fragile, it belonged to them and their emotions. Living like that was exhausting. My life was a never-ending roller coaster of emotions dictated by others. That's no way to live. I was exhausted. I needed to detach myself from this. But that's easier said than done. Then came a moment that forced me to change. Let me take you back. A few years ago, I landed what seemed like a dream job. Creative work, brilliant colleagues, a team that swore we were family. One for all for one. They even printed it on mugs. And I not only believed it, I lived it. The client needed last-minute changes because of someone screwed up the planning. I'd cancel plans with loved ones and work around the clock. I would get it done, only to discover later it wasn't even that urgent. And when the layoffs came, guess who stayed? Not the ones who worked the hardest or had the best ideas. I was let go without a second thought. I was devastated. I felt that my work family had abandoned and betrayed me. But in reality, I'd betrayed myself first. Sure, their actions were shady, but I was the one who blurred boundaries, who mistook camaraderie for loyalty, and that one for all for one mantra was just a fairy tale, I believed. I might as well have believed in magic unicorns. But it wasn't just work. And as I detached, more forced than by choice, of course, I realized that my job didn't define me. I was still standing. I was battered, but alive. And that pushed me to examine everything. Take relationships. I'd always known others' moods swayed mine. But I discovered to my surprise that I spent a lot of time trying to control others' behaviors. If I just loved harder, acted smaller, or thought positively enough, surely they'd change. As you probably can guess, they didn't. I learned you can't control people. Not your friends, your partner, your family. No matter how much you huff and puff, they're going to do them. And no amount of mental gymnastics, no wishing, no bargaining with the universe or changing yourself will bend someone else's will to yours. I once read that trying to control other people's behavior is the very definition of insanity. If that's true, I spent years doing insane things. And if we could control people, there would be thousands of books written on that topic. There aren't, because it's impossible. And the sooner we stop wasting energy on the impossible, the sooner we can reclaim our power and our lives. Case closed. But first, let's knock down the biggest lie about detachment. Detachment is not indifference. If you're thinking, but won't I become cold, unfeeling if I detach? No, you won't. Detachment isn't about shutting down your heart. It's about protecting your peace. Now, I want to warn you, I love metaphors. My friends often roll their eyes whenever I use them. So imagine you're a lighthouse. Bear with me. The storms are raging, waves are crashing, ships come and go. But the lighthouse, it stands steady, unmoved. It doesn't scream at the ocean to calm it down. It doesn't chase after ships that sail away. It just shines. Detachment isn't pretending the storm isn't there. It's knowing the storm can't extinguish your light. I used to think detachment meant losing love, but I was wrong. Hanging on to someone like a barnacle isn't love. Clutching onto someone or something for dear life isn't love. Love isn't a hostage situation. You need to detach from outcomes and let love breathe. And that only happens when you stop suffocating it with, do they like me? Are they mad at me? And start asking, how do I feel when I'm around them? Do I feel good? When I started doing that, my life got better, infinitely better. So how do we actually practice detachment in our daily lives? Let me break it down step by step. First, I try and recognize when I'm attaching. You know that feeling, the sinking feeling in your stomach when you don't hear back from someone. The racing thoughts when your boss walks by and looks at you strangely. It's probably nothing, but you never know. You might already be meeting with your replacement. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit, but you see what I mean. So whenever I feel that anxiety creeping in, that desperate need for approval, the fear of losing something, I pause and I name it. I'm spiraling over something I can't control. Just labeling it steals its power, and it stops my mind from running amok. Then I ask myself a question. What's the worst thing that could happen? I have to confess, I have a really vivid imagination. I often go wild imagining the worst, but then I get real. I pull back and look at things realistically and calmly. Let's say my friend is angry with me. Worst case, we talk it out or we don't. Maybe the friendship ends. And if it does, will I survive? Of course I will. I've survived rejections and breakups before, and I'll survive them again. Will it hurt? Of course. But understanding that is incredibly freeing. Finally, and this one's really important, I trained myself to focus on what I can control. I can't control others' thoughts and actions. I can only control my own thoughts and actions. So obsessing over what they did or what they said is futile. When my mind starts spiraling about things outside of my control, I literally say to myself, let it go. Then I take a deep breath and move on. Okay, sometimes I have to take several deep breaths, but you get the idea. I talked earlier about how trying to control people's behavior is insanity. Not only that, but think about how much mental energy we waste trying to telepathically control other people's thoughts and actions. It's exhausting and completely useless. We're not comic book superheroes. And that energy, we could be using it to build our own lives, to live each and every day fully. You know what else is funny about detachment? It shows up in the most unexpected moments. Like last month, I was at this dinner with people I really wanted to impress. I wanted them to like me. In the past, I would have spent the entire evening hyper aware of my every word, analyzing their reactions, trying to be the perfect person. But that night, I caught myself doing just that. I wasn't even present because I was so busy trying to be likable, I wasn't there. So I stopped and went with the flow. And the evening went well. Did everyone love and adore me? I have no idea, but I don't care. I did me, and that was enough. That's the irony of detachment. When you stop grasping, things flow to you naturally. I see this play out everywhere now. Take work. I freelance, so I'm constantly juggling clients. And there's one person I often work with who used to really get under my skin. They made non-stop digs at my work. I mean, why be nice when you can be snarky? Before, I'd be inwardly seething. And now, I see their remarks as a them problem, not a me problem. And that's freeing. And the best part? Detachment gave me back time. Hours I would have spent obsessing over an odd remark someone made or something I did wrong that might have offended someone somewhere. I don't do that anymore. And that time I saved, I now spend listening to music, hiking, doing yoga, enjoying life. Another upside of detachment, my anxiety has dropped dramatically. I sleep better, no more nights waking up at 3 with my heart beating wildly and my mind going over and over something. And my relationships are healthier because I'm centered and stable. My life doesn't shift with other people's moods anymore, or at least not as much. And now I enjoy being with people because I want to be with them. I don't need to be with them. And that's, for me, is revolutionary. It frees not just you, but the other person too. You're no longer with them from fear. But perhaps the biggest change for me, I found this quiet confidence, a steadiness I didn't have before. When you're not afraid of losing things, you can't be easily manipulated. You're stronger, you're steady. And when your worth isn't tied to someone else's approval, you become unshakable. And that's what this is all about. Being so rooted in yourself that nothing and no one can ever take that from you. But let's be honest, detachment isn't something you master overnight. I still find myself getting too wrapped up in things or people. Old habits die hard. But now I catch it faster. And when I do, I pause, I breathe, and I take a step back. The results of this happen slowly, so slowly I almost miss them. But one day I realized I hadn't wasted hours ruminating on things that used to eat me alive. Then it became days, then weeks, and that's when I knew that detachment was working. So back to my metaphor. Remember, we're lighthouses. We don't chase ships, we shine. And if this video resonated with you and you're ready to transform other areas of your life, please click on the video in the top right-hand corner. And remember, the most powerful thing you can do is to let go. See you next time.